Welcome to Clubhouse with a review of the Bandai Exceed Model Back to the Future DeLorean, a new Gashapon product from Bandai featuring the iconic time machine from one of the most beloved movie series of all time. You might know the Exceed Model line best from the Gundam Head releases, with the most recent one being the Dom Head Volume 2. These are really great products and they're just really popular, and as it turns out, their newest release isn't anything Gundam related at all. I love Back to the Future, and I'm sure a lot of you do too, so this would be something a lot of people will want. Getting right down to business, the Exceed Model Back to the Future DeLorean set was released on the second week of August of 2021. Gashapon releases are count by weeks like that. Each draw is 500 yen, and there are a total of 3 types, with no secrets and no rare types. And you know what? I was very lucky this time, and I even got the display card for this set too that's not normally sold to customers. These are for vendors to put inside their machines, and these really aren't a retail product. The main image on this is the Part 2 DeLorean viewed from the back to show off all that time travel machinery and those iconic vents. Further down, it shows us the fancy gimmicks that we're going to see in a bit more detail later. To the right is the full lineup of what you can get from the Gashapon machine. Down here is a whole lot of legal text. But really, I'm really excited just being able to show you this card as part of this review. Each car comes in these shell containers instead of standard capsules, but they do match the large size capsules in diameter. Inside each capsule, we get this slip of warnings in various Asian languages, probably for easy distribution in the entire region. And then we have this Gashapon slip with a plug here for a set of Back to the Future capsule figures that's coming in September. And then it's the same 3 DeLorean full lineup again. The other side is all legal text and a link to the instructions, which don't work yet, but a link is in the description. Here's a look at how the car parts are stowed, with the wheels and the exhaust vents on this half, and then the actual car parts split into 3 segments on this half over here, with any extra parts stowed at the bottom here. As with any product in the Exceed model line, these really make use of every inch of the capsule space. And let's have a quick look at the clever part sharing that Bandai did to keep costs down. The head of the car is shared between the first 2 models, with the third model having a slightly different top. The center cabin is shared between all 3 cars, and the back here is shared between the second and the third model, with the first DeLorean having a different part. The wheels too are shared between the first 2 models, and the third one has those memorable white wall tires. So as you can see, there's quite a lot of overlapping parts, and it's a very sensible way to keep costs down while giving us the different small variations between the DeLoreans from the 3 movies. And moments later, we have all 3 cars assembled here. These really hardly need any assembly other than putting a few pieces together, with each one coming together in probably not much over a minute. Using the first model as an example, it's reasonably colorful and you get a clear idea of what this is supposed to be, though any details like the headlights and any machinery on the back are left uncolored, of course, which is sort of masked by the silver colored plastic. And speaking of the silver, well, it's silver plastic. It's never gonna look anything like the aluminum body of the real DeLorean, and while I certainly won't say this looks amazing, it also is more or less what you'd expect from something not too expensive like this. The cables here are a little awkward with how they go from the silver on the front here to the black along the trim on the bottom and then back to silver again. But on the better side of things, the Gull wing doors are functional and you slide them out a little first before swinging them up like this. There's even all the cabin details inside, which we can better see here if we take the car apart. There is the all-important flux capacitor right here as a molded detail, along with the time circuit switch, which doesn't have a lever unfortunately. The dashboard is quite abstracted with only a rough shape of the panels and the equipment, so if you're going to paint this, it's going to be quite challenging to improve on this low resolution sculpt. But much more jarring is this Flintstone car thing going on here with the cabin floor completely missing at the front here. It's probably the logistics of the mold, but this could have been easily covered up with an extra part. Also kind of unsightly are the insides of the doors, which not only have no colors, but they also don't have any details whatsoever. So the cabin details really are something of a bonus more than anything you'd buy this set for. Then we have the wheels, which sit really tight inside the wheel well, but they do turn. The undersides of the car really have nothing on them, and this part is not meant to be on display. The DeLorean from Part 1 may not objectively be the most popular model, but it's many people's first love and everyone remembers the Twin Pine Mall scene and the lightning scene. The unique part on this is the plutonium chamber here on the back, which only this one has. And then there's the hook that 1955 Doc Brown made, and this sadly looks a little crude, having simple geometry that only gives a general idea of the thing and it really lacks a whole lot of detail. For example, the actual hook part on this end is not just done in white, but it looks like a clothes hanger without uniform width. Fortunately, you can take this piece off, and the square hole left behind won't really bother you too much, or if you're a builder, you can easily cover that part up with some other mechanical detail. I think I'd prefer to display this without the hook myself. For the DeLorean from Part 2, we get a very minor change, replacing the plutonium chamber on the back with the famous Mr. Fusion. The area around Mr. Fusion looks quite flat and blank like this, but on the actual movie card, this part is actually flat and bare too, so it's really not the fault of this figure. Otherwise, in this form, it's the same as the Part 1 model. But this does have an additional ability to change into the hover mode by pulling off the wheels, and then installing this extra piece in their place, and then replacing the wheels at the bottom to have the wheels pointing down in their hover configuration. And I imagine this Part 2 DeLorean will be by far the most popular in this set, especially with these hover wheels. For the Part 3 DeLorean, we get this different hood piece, with all this here being the 1955 replacement for the time circuit control chip. The designers chose to color the tray that everything sits on rather than the belts or the components inside, and this just barely gives the illusion of it all being colored, but this really will benefit from some extra love if you're a painter. The wheels have been changed to those 50s style white wall tires, but it's more than that, and they actually lowered the wheels for this model, with the shaft sitting lower than the other two previous cars. This is a bit of extra work that they could have easily gotten away without doing, but they did it, even though this DeLorean will probably have fewer fans. But otherwise, the other parts here are carried over from the Part 2 DeLorean with the Mr. Fusion and everything. It's a small shame we don't get the train track wheels to swap in, since that would have been quite easy to include as an option. And with the Gundam head, Zaku head, and the Dom head releases before, people really want to paint these Exceed Model products, but the Gundam heads were glued together and they were quite a pain in the butt to take apart. So how friendly are the DeLoreans for modders and painters? And the answer is they're very friendly, with this entire car easily taken apart without any parts glued or locked together. You'd lose this backlight detail if you paint it, but it is an acceptable price for most builders and painters. So if you're gonna paint these kits, they're absolutely ready and painter friendly. With all that said, here's the Hobby Clubhouse 3-point verdict on the Bandai Exceed Model Back to the Future DeLorean set. Number 1. It's a decent price for a good DeLorean product. The official price of 500 yen isn't that cheap, to be honest, but you're gonna often find these below that full price, especially from sellers that sell these as a full set. And without any secret models and color variations and all that fuss, you're probably gonna be able to get these cars at a very good discounted price. And Back to the Future products are few and far between, so this set should be quite reasonable for longtime fans. And number 2, this set bit off a bit more than it can chew, a little bit. Gundam heads and Dom heads are well loved for all the details they pack in and how they're mostly color complete. These DeLoreans honestly fall a bit on the low resolution side with their detail, and there are just too many small components all over the cars to have them factory painted. As is, they're acceptable, and fans will still enjoy them quite a lot, but they do look and feel like toy products rather than a collector's item, and that's a shame when the target customers for these will likely prefer something that's far more sophisticated. And number 3, these are still exciting for builders. The Exceed Model line is loved by a lot of builders because the details on them are just screaming for builders to come in and complete them with some touch-up and a little bit of coloring. And the DeLoreans are no exception. The details on the cabin may be a little bit blocky, and the finer electronic components are a little bit abstract, but more than a few of you will surely be excited by the idea of working on them to make them look as nice as they deserve to be. So that's a review of this new Exceed Model DeLorean set. I think this is largely aimed at die-hard Back to the Future fans who are woefully underserved with good products, but this set is also affordable enough and well-made enough for the casual fan to own. Thank you so much for watching. Come look us up on social media with updates on upcoming videos and sneak peeks at future projects. Links are in the description below. Or hang out here some more with one of these other videos. But before you go, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell icon to be notified of new videos from Hobby Clubhouse, and I'll see you next time.